Will Pollo beat Peterbot? This is a question most Fortnite competitive fans have been asking this year. It all stems from Pollo and Peterbot's dominant tear throughout 2024, winning 3 FNCS championships, as well as the Global Championship, and as they are competing separately this year, we all wonder which portion of the unstoppable duo will reach the greatest heights. This year for Pollo started with a bang. Pollo formed a trio with Acorn and Agers right before FNCS began. This is all Pollo could have asked for, with a 3-time champion IGL Acorn and a 1-time champion Fragger Agers. Well, it's all Pollo could have asked for if we ignore Peterbot's trio, who had won every divisional cup leading into FNCS. Going into grand finals of the first major, Pollo's trio was a universally accepted top 5 trio, but no one had them poised to win due to the juggernaut of Peterbot's trio. This was until day 1. And the first 6 games of the finals of Major 1 happened, which Pollo dominated, getting a top 5 in all but one game. This was surprising for everyone, as they were playing far and beyond all the competition, including Peterbot. They even ended the day 92 points ahead of Peterbot in second, a comfortable buffer going into day 2. During day 2 and the last 6 games of the finals, Pollo, Acorn, and Agers played excellently, placing top 10 in every game with 2 third places. This would have been more than enough to win the FNCS in just about every world except this one. Peterbot went for the win, attempting to get as many eliminations and game wins as possible. This resulted in 2 wins and 1 second with double-digit eliminations in all 3 games. This was enough to bring the grand finals down to the last game, which, as you can see, Peterbot won, but was it enough to strip away the lead that Pollo had built? No, it wasn't. Pollo's lead and day 2 performance was enough to win his 4th FNCS. This also crowned Acorn a 4-time champ and Agers a 2-time champ. While Pollo and his trio were able to celebrate, Peterbot was more than disappointed with his trio's performance. He tried to pry Pollo out of his trio to reunite with his Global Championship duo to also play alongside his current trio mate Cold. This was successful, with a new trio forming of Pollo, Peterbot, and Cold. From the first grand finals, Pollo and Peterbot's trios were the 2 teams to qualify for the Global Championship. Pollo and Peterbot decided that they wanted to play with each other for the remainder of the year in the trio of Pollo, Peterbot, and Cold, which means that they were unable to play with each other at the Global Championship, which they were okay with. This changed, however, when Fortnite implemented a new rule making both trios return to the original composition to earn any prize money in an FNCS event. This did indeed cause both trios to go back to normal, so Pollo was back to his trio of Pollo, Acorn, and Agers. Going into the next FNCS, Pollo, Acorn, and Agers were landing at Masked Meadows, notably on the south of the map, which is important in a second. Pollo, as the reigning champion, was poised to be a contender alongside Peterbot's trio, and the other notable trio being Clicks, Higgs, and Yamzo. Unfortunately, this weekend was disappointing to Pollo fans, as just about all the zones went north, with a few during day 1 pulling to the exact same spot. This was an issue because Pollo was landing in the south at Masked Meadows, and north zones, let's just say, can be very, very difficult to navigate as someone landing on the south side of the map. All that being said, Pollo's trio did not perform terribly, placing 5th. However, it was below expectations, and, well, without Pollo's trio mirroring Peterbot's success, Peterbot had a new contender at the top of the leaderboard, which we mentioned earlier as a contender being Clix' trio. This time, however, Peterbot was able to win the FNCS, crowning him a 5-time champion. As the new season began, Pollo's POI, Masked Meadows, was changed into Demon's Domain, which also happened to be the best POI on the map, containing a medallion which gave shield up to 50 very quickly, which is very, very strong. Because of this, Peterbot also decided that he wanted to land at Demon's Domain. So here we were, both Peter and Pollo were together again, but this time, both feeling entitled to Demon's Domain, and therefore an off-spawn brawl began. The off-spawn battle was just about even until the Divisional Cup before the 3rd and last FNCS finals. In this Divisional Cup, Pollo's team beat Peterbot off-spawn in 5 of the 6 games, in which they won 3 of the games, placed first in the finals, all while Peterbot was unsuccessful in 19th. Just after this Divisional Cup, Fortnite tweeted out a trailer, and I'll just let you watch. trailer depicted the complete destruction of Demon's domain, and even though Fortnite confirmed on X that Demons would be untouched for the FNCS finals, this was enough to scare away Peterbot, and for Peterbot to leave and begin landing at Brutal Boxcars. So, heading into the FNCS finals, Pollo had shaken off Peterbot, and they won Demon's domain loot to themselves. Starting off day 1 of the FNCS finals, it became very apparent that Peterbot was doing what he could to limit Pollo's success. Yet Pollo won the first 2 games with 10 eliminations. The third game is where things changed. A team that Peterbot was close to, and which he knew were good off-spawn fighters, being Cyrus' trio, decided to drop on Pollo at Demon's domain. Cyrus and his trio are a bit of a gray area in the story, as dropping on Pollo and their actions the rest of the tournament could be deemed as gameplay most beneficial to their team, especially as it is impossible to know of their true intentions. However, Acorn, Pollo's teammate, made it very clear in an interview that he believed that Cyrus was doing what Peterbot wanted, being to grief Pollo. In this third game, Cyrus killed Pollo's trio off spawn, taking away the momentum they had built up in the first 2 games. After the third game, Cyrus and his trio began landing on Aoxy's trio on the mountain, which didn't seem negative towards Pollo at first, until we realized that Aoxy was Pollo's Storm Surge trading buddy. This means that Pollo's trio gained most of their damage to survive Storm Surge by trading damage with Aoxy's trio. So, when Cyrus began contesting Aoxy off-spawn, if Cyrus won, Pollo would have a big issue not being able to get enough damage to survive Storm Surge. Although Cyrus may have been sabotaging Pollo's chance at an FNCS win, Peterbot still took Pollo's fate into his own hands for the 4th game. He did this by camping the exact building that Acorn would enter in the middle of the game.
Their immediate competition, it makes you wonder who's next, Kanata, right? They might just come after you too. Here's the setup though, my gosh, read like a book.
They eliminated Acorn, with the fight being a 2v3. Pollo's trio was wiped out before gaining any points. This led to all of Pollo's momentum being killed. But his trio pushed on for the last 2 games of day 1, and in these last 2 games they placed top 5 in both, leaving the trio in 4th place, 86 points behind Peterbot in 1st. Pollo began the 2nd day with a bang, getting a 14 elimination win, and in the 3rd game a 9 elimination win. Then Pollo was unstoppable, getting a 2nd and 3rd place. After 5 games, Pollo was in 1st, and notably 90 points ahead of Peterbot. So Peterbot did the only winning move, landing on Pollo in the last game of FNCS to try to take Pollo out and having an amazing game to win the FNCS Grand Finals.
We are gonna get what we want to see go down here.
Ring that bell, ding, ding, ding. Let the match begin. All season long, watch it on Aussie's stream. 30-something, all for this fight here. Cole gets the gun. He's able to chase Acorn around, who has absolutely nothing. Agers gets one for himself, but him, he's gonna fall. Peterbot and Ritual are the last 2 alive in a situation that they can revive Cole, leaving Acorn all by himself.
Just like that, the tables change with a pickaxe and a swing. The support system comes through for Peterbot, Ritual, Cold, and Acorn. You can run, but buddy, I don't think you're going to be able to hide for much longer. They're making sure they have no odds at losing this one, and Acorn is just hiding out here down in the low ground. I think something's going to happen here that's going to give away his position here, but it looks like the real kings of the Demon's domain will be Peterbot, Cold, and Ritual.
Pollo was defeated. Peterbot then went on to win the game and win the FNCS by 3 points or less than 1 elimination. This means that Pollo got 2nd in the last FNCS before the Global Championship, and he was bested by Peterbot once again. Now that we can focus on the Global Championship, Pollo is landing at Demon's debris or the remains of Demon Dojo after the live event in which a Kraken or Squid obliterated the dojo. The reason why they continue to drop at Demons is due to the Spring Leg Medallion, which gives fall damage immunity as well as a double jump, and the mythic OXR rifle, given when defeating the Queen found at Demon's debris. Luckily, Pollo's determination off spawn and prowess earned him respect from the other players attending the Global Championship, and therefore he is uncontested for the Global Championship at one of the 3 best POIs on the map, at least for now. So it turns out that while I was editing this video, Peterbot has actually switched his drop to the OXR base. I'll throw it on the screen right now so you all can see it. But for the purposes of this video and the rest of the data I talk about, I believe it's about the same, and he'll have about the same success rate as when contesting for Doxy. And this is because OXR is contested by Vanya, and we haven't really seen Vanya off spawn too much recently, but I think Vanya, Pixie, and Marius will be good enough spawn fighters to take a few games off Peterbot. So for the purposes of this video, just consider him contesting for Doxy as the same as him contesting Vanya, as he's contesting Vanya now, but I think it's just about the same. Anyways, back to the video. Peterbot is currently locked into a 3-way off-spawn brawl with what's considered the best off-spawn fighters in the world for Doxy's trio, alongside one of the greatest ever touch the game, Tayson, and his trio. Many believe that this will cause Peterbot to leave and contest somewhere else on the map. Why not a top 3 job against a trio that he has a ton of practice fighting against all of this year? And Peterbot has said on stream that he went to his current drop thinking that it contained the medallion that is actually at Demon's Debris. We know that Peterbot already went to the medallion, and he has a ton of time fighting off spawn against Pollo, so the thought of Peterbot dropping on Pollo seems somewhat realistic. Let's answer the question of will Pollo beat Peterbot with the 2 possibilities of Peterbot's off spawn not changing with him contesting for Doxy and Tayson at Ranger's Ruin, and Peterbot dropping on Pollo at Demon's Debris. If Peterbot is to continue contesting for Doxy and Tayson at Ranger's Ruin, I predict out of the 12 games for Doxy to win 5 games, Peterbot to win 5 games, and Tayson to not win a game. That leaves 2 games in which I believe Ranger's Ruin will be split. And with Peterbot having 2 games with split loot, I can say confidently that he will most likely have 1 good game out of those 2. So in this prediction, Peterbot has 6 games to get as many points as possible. And, well, looking at Peterbot's best 6-game sample size in this year's FNCS Finals, he accumulated 488 points, which was on Day 2 of Major 1 Finals. In Pollo's worst performance over a 12-game sample size, as he is uncontested in this example, it is 638 points in Major 2 Finals. Because 638 is greater than 488 in Pollo's worst and Peterbot's best, Pollo will beat Peterbot if all stays the same. If Peterbot is to contest Pollo, we can look at what will happen when Peterbot did contest Pollo, being that they were, all things considered, about 50-50 off spawn. In a 12-game format, chances are that the fight will not actually be 6-6 to each of the teams, but 7-5 or 8-4 in either direction. Regardless, let's try to use data to figure out who will do better in the scenario. To do this, I'm going to take the average points per game of both Peterbot and Pollo's trios from all 3 of the major finals. However, Pollo's trio did die off spawn in 2 games during the major 3 finals, so I will remove those matches from the data accumulation. This leaves Peterbot's trio with a total of 2,523 points in 36 games, and Pollo's trio with a total of 2,330 points in 34 games. This makes the average points per game for Peterbot to be 70.08, and the average points per game for Pollo to be 68.53. This means that although extremely close, if the off-spawn fight indeed goes even with 6 games for both Pete and Pollo, Peterbot would end with just over 420 points, and Pollo just over 411 points. Meaning if Pollo and Peterbot go even, Peterbot will beat Pollo. But if Pollo wins 1 more game, making the results 7-5, then Pollo would have almost 480 points, and Peterbot would have only 350 points, meaning that Pollo would beat Peterbot if they have more wins off spawn. To wrap this scenario together, if the data is true, Peterbot will beat Pollo if the off spawn is equal, or Pete wins more. But Pollo will beat Peterbot if Pollo's trio wins more off spawn. So, with all things considered, Peterbot vs Pollo would look much different if Peterbot is uncontested. However, this is not how the cookie crumbled. Peterbot is all but guaranteed to be contested, and because of this, Pollo has a much higher chance to beat Peterbot at the Global Championship, especially if Pollo is able to stay away from Peterbot's off-spawn dilemma. And after going through the data, and after reflecting on Pollo's year, I will say that Pollo will beat Peterbot at the Global Championship in this September.